Hey everybody, welcome back to the Success Secrets Revealed live stream show with your host, Ronald Couming. Today we have an amazing guest with us, Angeline Weimar, and she's going to come on and talk to us about bringing financial education to America and really help us fine-tune some of the mistakes that we're making. First, we have to learn about them and then we can correct them. But before I give you her full bio and introduce her, I want to talk to you a little bit about how the show came to be in the very beginning. I have a radio show with 1.7 million listeners, but because of COVID, they stopped manning the station. So they're only running reruns, and the reruns are from, top tier guests that I've had, over the last 4 years I've been doing the show. But some of those some of those interviews were a year ago, 2 years ago, right? So I wanted to continue to bring current information, especially in light of what's going on. So I started this live stream. I'm going to take out the audio, send that off to the radio station, and they're going to run it in rotation at some point so you, the viewers and listeners, can get current information that will help you in this crazy time of COVID. I also wanted to let you know that no guest pays to be on the show. No guest gets paid to be on the show. I don't get paid to be on the show. Everybody is here to give back and to just help out. This is our way of giving back. And we do have a sponsor because somebody has to pay for the marketing, the VAs, and all this other stuff that happens. And that happens to be my company. And that's RCS Online Solutions. We help business owners and entrepreneurs, much like you, attract, convert, and retain their ideal customers and clients. And in short order, what that means to you is you have a service, you have a gift, you have a solution to somebody's problem. But if they can't find you, they can't consider you or hire you, right? And if you're on the first page for your name or your company's name, I'm telling you, so what? No one is searching for that. If they know that, they're picking up the phone and calling you. They are searching for the solution to their problem. So you have to come up for the solution to the problems and service you provide. That's what you need to come up for on the first pages of like Google and YouTube and Yahoo and Bing. And that's what we do. And oftentimes with our SEO clients, we'll get you ranked before you even pay us. So if you need any help getting ranked so you can serve more people, help more people with whatever your gifts are, please contact me at ron@rcsonlinesolutions.com. Now, let's bring on Angeline Weimar. She is a successful entrepreneur, real estate investor, speaker, and author of the award-winning book, Freedom Within Reach. She values and actively invests in her own personal development to sharpen her skills. Over the last decade, her main focus has been developing a business system that creates multiple streams of residual passive income. Today, Angeline is educating clients on the power of investing using easy-to-understand wealth principles. She then provides them a blueprint for prosperity and abundance using the current financial situation. Her mission is to serve others, to inspire as many people as possible to find their purpose, grow into their maximum potential, and live the life they deserve. Please help me welcome Angeline Weimar.
Hey. Wow, Ronald, thank you so much for having me. It's really my honor to be here with you today and the amazing audience.
Thank you so much. And we have, like I said, we have, whoever's on live now, your feed, my feed, but this video will be all over my social media, and I assume yours, plus the audio is going to go to the radio station. So hopefully, I'm looking for, tens of thousands of people over time to hear your great message. I've heard it. I've heard you speak on the stage in Chicago and several other places at Ultimate Wealth Camp with Bill Walsh. Today happens to be his birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so tell us a little, where you're calling in from, and tell us a little bit more about who you are and your history. How did you get to be here? I know it. It's an amazing story. But
Thank you. I'm actually calling from Dallas-Fort Worth in Texas right now. It's a beautiful weather right now, and not as hot as before. So as you can hear that I speak with an accent because English is not my first language. I actually was born and raised in China. I came to the United States 11 years ago already, Ronald. Can you believe it? 2009.
Wow.
Yeah, that's when I landed in US to continue my further education in business. I get my master's degree in New Jersey, Fairleigh Dickinson University. Yep. And I thought, because when I grew up, I only got to see my parents twice a year. Do you know why?
Wow, that's terrible. Why?
Because the five letter word money. Because my parents, in order to make money, so they need to go to another city to make a living, so I need to stay behind with my grandparents, so I only get to see them twice a year. That's why when I come to this country, I come with a dream. I come with the dream that one day I want to become financially independent, that I want to reunite my family, because I also have a sister too.
Yep.
Yep. So I thought, in order to make a lot of money, be successful in the United States, I need to get a degree, which is I did. I went to New Jersey. I finished my master. But sometimes reality and your dream, it is so different. Because when after I graduated, I looked for a job. It's so hard to find a job that I love. And I also, even though I found one, I only got paid the minimum wage. So
Oh, with a master's degree.
I know, right? I'm like, whoa, what is this? What is that? Was like a turning point in my life. I'm like, how can I become financially independent if I only um get paid hourly, right?
Yep.
Like, I feel like, wow, other people have to determine how much is my worth, right? And that doesn't feel right for me. So I picked up a book by Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. Have you read that book, Ronald?
Oh, absolutely. And Sharon Lecter, who co-wrote it with Robert, has been a guest on this show, and she's a good friend of mine, and I know you've met her too. So
Yeah, I had the privilege to share the stage with her. It's amazing, phenomenal book. It had changed my life, because I never know, because I have been programmed. My mom told me that you gotta go to school, you get a good grade, right? And after that, you marry, your life will be set, right? But that book expand my mind that I can become an entrepreneur and I can become an investor.
nice.
Yeah. And that's one of the best decision I ever made in my life. It's to follow whatever that book taught me, and I start my own real estate company. And my life, yeah,
Yeah, and,
turning.
and and Robert and Sharon, who wrote the book with Robert, they broke it down pretty simply, so people like you and me, when I first read it, who didn't have a large background in that arena, we could see that for the quadrants, and we could see, employee, you know what I mean, and business owner and entrepreneur, and we could see, some people, if you have a business and you're the one who's doing all the work, you don't have a business, you have a job.
Yeah.
If in order to have a business, there's a whole, and that book goes into detail, and I love how it inspired you, because you literally came from another country, got a master's degree, you did everything you were supposed to do, and you've gone on, and we both know that you're extremely successful at this point. But I love how you started with the simplicity, but your why had to do with, money prevented you from seeing your family. Money prevented you from spending time with the people that you loved, and you wanted to set about and change that, and you did. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, or do you want to go into how you started changing it? Either way is fine.
I like to talk about when I first come to this country, right? I had these dreams and desire, but I really don't have any resources, Ronald. No friends, no money, no nothing. So I remember I wrote down these three things. I draw a triangle. I still vividly remember I draw a triangle. At the bottom, I wrote down family, because to me, family is still the most important thing. And then on the left-hand side of the triangle, I wrote down career, means that I want to have something that I can take ownership. I want to become financially independent. Okay, as a successful businesswoman, that's always been my dream. And the right-hand side, I wrote down giving back. I don't know at that time why did I write that down, but I always have this heart that I want to serve other people. This is 11 years in the United States, right? I have accomplished the family. I have built a successful business and have multiple streams of income. And now I dedicate the rest of my life I want to serve others. I want to serve others. I want to help people to become financially independent as well.
I love it. And didn't you bring your parents over?
Oh, yes. My parents actually came to the United States a couple of years ago. My sister came first. I asked her to come here to went to school because I think a little bit long term, if eventually I brought my parents here, my sister will be alone in China, and I don't want her to be. So I brought her here to go to school, and then a couple of years later, I brought my family here. So now guess how many people living in my house right now?
8.
7.
7. I was close.
Very close. Yeah.
Yep. But good for you. But you did it. But I know, right? You've got a big house, and you know what I mean. So it's great that you know, there were a lot of things growing up that when you spoke on the stage. I mean, you've been a client of mine, and I've worked with you, and I knew you for a long time. But when I heard you speak at Ultimate Wealth Camp, and you just, I mean, it was amazing. I learned things that I didn't know, and you and I had many conversations. So I know how important that you know, spending time with your family was, and how that made such an impact in your life, how your parents had to go away and leave you to make money to feed you. And you know what I mean? So it was just, China is different than the United States, but the concepts are the same. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of what's going on over here, and you know, people trading time for money, and then you know they're not surviving, they're not getting ahead, and it's crazy. And they don't even understand that, you know, whatever they make, the business needs to make like 3 times as much in order to pay them that, because you know, if they make 50, if they're paying somebody 20 an hour, they need to make at least 50 an hour. Because then they pay the 20, that leaves them 30. Then they got to pay the rent, the electricity, the cable, the marketing. You know, they got to pay the taxes, the FICA, and all that. So now that 30 left over is probably about 8, right? But you know, so there's a lot of stuff about business and finances that people just don't get. And you're a specialist in multiple areas of finance. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? You're certainly welcome to tell us more about how, you know, your why, but, you know, you're also, I'd love to hear about, you know, what you're doing now as well.
Yeah. So, Ronald, because you're talking about trade time for the money, right? I can relate to that because I've seen my parents trade time for the money, and even worse, my mom traded her health for the money. I'm like, wow, she spent her whole life making money, working for the money, and now she gets sick and used her hard-earned money to repair her health. I'm like, wow, there's gotta be a better way.
That's why broken. That's a broken system.
Yeah, that's why I make this commitment. I say I'm going to teach people money is just a tool, right? This is just tool. It doesn't worth for you to trade your life for it, right? You're going to learn how to use this tool. And here's the thing, if it's that hard, you probably didn't do it right. In the past 11 years, right, I was struggle. I was, wow, why can I not make it, right? Because I didn't apply the principle. And then I realized once you apply the principle about money, it becomes super, super simple and very, very easy, right? All you have to do, you gotta learn how to increase your earning potential. But making money, it's one thing. What do you do with your money? How do you make your money working hard for you? That's another subject, which is the school or our parents never taught us, right?
Yeah, and a lot of them, they didn't know either because their parents didn't teach them. So, you know, they can, you know, it's generational and it gets passed down. And it's kind of almost like our school system is created to make pretty much worker bees. You know, they're not created to make people successful. You go to college, you leave college with, you know, 100,000 in debt, roughly, give or take. And, you know, most of the people who leave college, they did a statistic I read, they're not even working in a field that they trained for. And, you know, so by the time they get out of college after 4 years, pretty much everything they've learned is already obsolete. So, I mean, it's really an antiquated and broken system. But if you try to tell somebody that, they look at you like you got 3 heads, you know, you're crazy or something. But, and then, you know, there's people like you who really help people understand the principles. So can you tell us a little bit more about the principles?
Yes, and I want to, I can resonate with what you said, Ronald, because my team and I, we feel like we are the minorities, right? We're fighting against the stream. And to you, to some people, maybe this is just statistics, but I experience this daily, daily. I have do financial planning from age 18 to age 60, right? I've seen people when they're 50s, 60s because they didn't plan it right, and guess what? By the time they retire, they couldn't. So the principle about investing, I believe it's always start with the mindset. Many people, guess what, Ronald? They make and they spend. They
Yes.
make, they spend, they make, they spend. So I want to share this mindset. It's got you make it, you pay yourself first. I've seen many business owner, no matter you are self-employee or you working as a 9 to 5, many people they make it and they just spend it or even invest back into their business, right? So what I always teach people, you make it, you set aside at least 10% of your income and then to invest into a safe and secure investment. I believe that's the foundation. That's step one.
And that, to me, that's, at some point, I mean, 10% is not that difficult. If you had said 20 or 30, some people wouldn't be able to, but if you're making, 100,000 a year, if you can set aside 10,000 a year, not only is that a safety net, but also in case something goes wrong, like COVID hits. I mean, how many people got whacked? And, we got 1 out of 4 restaurants in this state have permanently closed already. 300,000 small businesses have closed. So, I mean, there are a ton of my business too. And because I help business owners and entrepreneurs get their message out so they can serve. But because there was so much uncertainty out there that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, they just were like, Ron, I know we have a contract, but can we put our marketing on hold for a couple of months? Because we have no idea when things are going to open up again. So, when you do put that just 10%, start at 5 if you have to, and then do 6, and then do 7. Just get in that habit until you get 10. When something happens, you'll have money to go through it.
Weather the storm, yeah. And
Yeah.
consistent doing that, that's a key, right?
Yep. And you also talked about that I really like. I should have wrote it down, but it'll come back. But it's paying yourself first. Or you keep talking, and this time I'm going to write it down because it's going to come back to me as soon as you start talking.
Yeah, and that's number one. Another thing I always teach people, preach about people, it's you gotta have multiple streams of income, and I'm a big believer in passive income, right? And I believe there's a 2 type of passive income. One is to build a business that can generate the business income, having people and system working for you, like McDonald's, like Starbucks, right? That's the business passive income. Another passive income is you got to know how to generate investment passive income by applying the principle that I teach. It's very simple.
Nice. And you're right. People, I've heard joke at different events about, McDonald's. There's 2 things you will see that you will never see at a McDonald's. And this is our opinion, so please don't sue us, McDonald's, right? You'll never see quality food, and you'll never see the owner, right? You'll always see people who work for them. You know what I mean? So it is a form of a passive income because they bought it. I mean, sometimes you'll see the person who bought it actually working there for a little while to make sure the system. But that's the idea of a franchise too, because you're stepping into a ready-made system. And so I mean, keep going. I love it, and you're right. Though that is a form of passive income is when you're really not doing anything. You did whatever it took to set it up, to earn it, to get it started, but then it flows. And I like the fact that you actually mentioned business, because most people who think about passive income would think about either an MLM or they would think about the stock market or stuff. Nobody would actually think about an apartment complex or, renting out, doing Airbnb downstairs. Now, sometimes, you have to maybe put the ad up or something, right? But so there's multiple ways that people can make money.
Multiple way you can generate passive income, either from business or investment. Like the thing that you just mentioned, like rentals and stocks and things like that. Those are I consider as a investment passive income.
Nice. So go on, talk more. I mean, I love this. And so far, what principles? Are you going to give us numbers? So are we at number 3 now, or?
I'm gonna share some principle with you. It's very, very simple, right? Now I'm talking about how do you generate investment passive income. Okay. So what I did, I applied these 4 principles. Number 1, it's called rate of return. Right. So Ronald, you know how many people that I know, they don't know how to invest because they want to play it safe. They just put it in the bank. Right? Have you heard about the formula called Rule of 72?
Rule of 72. Well, that has like, I think how long it takes to double your money?
Exactly. So you use 72 divided by the interest rate equals how many years for your money to double, right? So you don't know how to invest your money, you put it in the bank. Hopefully the bank can give you 1%. 72 divided by 1 equals 72 years, Ronald.
Right.
72 years for your money to double. Isn't that crazy?
It's like the stock market. I think it said 5% or 8%. So it would take you like 7 years or something if you use that principle of 72. So that's important to even know that. So can you tell them again what the principle of 72 means?
You use 72 divided by the interest rate equals how many years for your money to double.
And that's crazy because in order for your money to double, right, every year the cost of living is basically, the COLA is basically like 3%, 2.5% to 3.5%, right? So if you're getting 1% and the cost of living is 2.5%, you're already operating at a deficit. But guess what? That 1%, you got to pay taxes on that 1%. So it's even less. So, welcome to reality. But
that's why I believe that in life, you need to have a great coach. You need to have a great coach to accelerate your learning curve and can shortcut your success.
Oh, that is so big. That is, that is one of the biggest things. And if you look at like my weekly, when I talk about that, right? And Sharon Lecter, actually, I heard say this: smart people learn from their own mistakes, you know what I mean? And try not to make them again. But geniuses learn from other people's mistakes and don't make them in the first place.
Yep.
So getting a coach, getting a mentor, preferably somebody who's been in the field that you want to go in or that you need help in. So you might be over here doing this and you might not want to be in a financial planner. You might not want to be a stock investor. But if that is something that you need to benefit your life and that of your loved ones, I mean, what are you leaving your kids, right? Then you need to get somebody who's in that field to coach and mentor you. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels and you're actually going to hurt yourself more than you'll help yourself.
Yeah, even though I said the principle, it is simple, the rate of return, right? But do you know what kind of investment that can give you a better return? There's so many out there. Are you going to go out and evaluate each one of them and try to do it yourself? Or you find somebody like me, right? Or other very experienced people who do this like every single day. That's what we do, right? Yeah. So the principle number 1, it's risk. There's a lot of a myth in terms of investing. People think that no risk, no gain, right? They feel like in order to have a great rate of return, I need to gamble my money. And I don't believe in that. I believe that you can have a steady growth, but you don't need to risk your principal. Do you know what Warren Buffett said when it comes to investing? There's two rules.
Don't lose the money. Rule number 1, and rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1.
Exactly.
That's a funny rule, but it's a good one.
Sometimes this thing that we talk about, they are not new, but how many people are really actually apply, right?
Very few. That's why when you said earlier, you hit the nail on the head when you said sometimes you feel, you see it every day and stuff. It's really 3% of the population that are like that have the business, and that's a statistic. I didn't make it up, but they think in ways of like you and I, and just differently. Whereas 97 think, trade time for money, and they go through, and then they end up and they're retiring, and they had a hard time living on 100% pay. How are they going to live on 60% pay when they retire, right? Through, if they're even lucky enough to have a retirement account. Some companies don't even have them anymore, right? So yeah, it's super important. And then out of that 3%, it's then you climb it to get to that 1%. To be in the 1%, you only have to make $450,000 a year. Most people think that to be in the 1%, you're making $100 million a year or something. No, to be in the 1% of earners in the United States, you have to earn $450,000 or more a year. That's not a large threshold. I mean, some people can't even fathom it because, they're working for minimum wage, but their whole mind is time for money, time for money. Yeah. They don't step back and think, how can I duplicate that? How can I? It's so funny. My girlfriend, you've met her, Davi, and her son was selling bubble gum and other stuff at school, candy. He was buying it from Costco's or someplace, getting a really good deal, like maybe 30 cents per unit, right? And then he was selling it for $1. But then he even understood, and which I love, because he's only like 15 now or 14 now, so he probably was doing this at 13, right? And but he actually got 2 other kids, and what he did is he gave them the candy. And he said, okay, I'm making, 50 cents per unit. I'll give you 25. Wow. So he learned duplication.
How to build a team.
Yes, he started to build a team. So he learned the value of duplication, because you'll never get there if you're just trading time for money, or if you're, if you get paid, even if you're making $300 an hour, how many hours can you work? But if you can get 10 people to work for you, and I think it was also Warren Buffett who said, I'd rather take 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my efforts. Exactly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you got to learn about duplication, and you got to have other people, even, just like me, I have people who work for me, and other people pay me to do things, and I pay them, and then the difference is mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that concept, it reminds me the network marketing business model, right? And I love the business model, but unfortunately, many people, I would say that 95% of the population, they don't understand the business. They keep label it as like a pyramid or MLM, right?
Right.
But to me, like you just said, that's a business model. You duplicating yourself by building a team.
But let me ask you this question. Even if you went to McDonald's, IBM, Microsoft, any of these companies, how do they work? You have like the CEO, right? Yes, exactly. You have the CEO, you have the managers, you have these, and it's all like, and then you got the workers, and it all comes down to the bottom line workers, and then you have the managers, and so isn't that a pyramid? I think part of why in the 70s, and early 80s, but who's to say that the people who are in the 1% is the real people who are, making, the 7 families who really control the country, right, or the world. But and they met at the island, Jekyll Island, and they created the entire education system and everything in 23. I mean, there's a whole history we can go into, but who's to say that when network marketing came up around, they saw the potential, and they saw that their worker bees could be distracted and make more money, and now no longer work for them as their employees, because now they're becoming financially free. So they put out some media negativity surrounding it. So maybe they just manipulated it so people wouldn't get into it, so they could keep them locked into working for them and never getting ahead.
Wow.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know if that happened, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there is so much, manipulation in the media and everything going on, because I agree with you. I mean, I've had success in a couple of different things that are considered MLMs, but I mean, they're things you buy anyhow. So why not make a couple of cents off everything you buy, right?
Yeah, to me, I always tell people that there's no bad investment. It's just the people who run it, it doesn't know how to run it. There's no bad business. It's just the people who run it. Are you run it in a professional way, or you run it in a not professional way, right? So it's not about the business model or the investment. It's the people. It's the person behind it.
I love it. So you hit us with 2 things. What's number 3?
You mentioned it before, taxes.
Oh, taxes. Oh, it's your single biggest expense.
Yeah. Do you know what's the biggest expense in the United States?
Taxes.
Yeah. When you make money, they tax you. When you spend
Yep.
money, they tax you. When you save money, they tax you. When you invest your money, they tax you. When you pass, they want to tax you.
Yeah, when you die, they want to tax you on money they've already taxed you, right? It's insane. And people just think it's so normal. A funny story, about 5, maybe 10 years ago, we had a lot of rain, right? And some of the like sewers around Boston area and some of the suburbs weren't fully cleared out. So they flooded. So they brought in the workers who were supposed to clear them out, paid them time and a half to clear them out, but then they created a tax in the town. If you owned a house, they charged you a tax for the rain. If it rained and it hit your roof and it rolled off, it was called the roll-off tax, right? So you were charged for rain. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, I was like, you got to be kidding me. And it was in my father. And he was like, well, somebody's going to. I said, Dad, you're already paying them to do the work. They didn't do the work and it caused a flood. Then you paid them time and a half to fix the work that you already paid them 100% on. Now you're paying them 150%. And now on top of that, they want to tax you for, the next 50 years because you had, 2 weeks of floods. You know what I mean? But the people just, when they see it and they just think it's normal. They don't even think back. When you think about it, the way you just said it, you work on it, you get tax on the money you work, you go out, you get sales tax, you go out to eat, you get tax, you go here, you get tax. You're probably paying 60, 75, 60, 68% tax. And then if you own a house, forget about it. I mean, you're paying,
But
so
there's a way to minimize it, but many people, they don't know. Of course, we have limiting time today. That tax alone, it could take me an hour to just explain, right?
Well, we're going to have you back, but definitely talk about taxes a little bit or more. I mean, we got at least another 8 to 13 minutes.
So there's when it comes to investment, there's 3 different type, right? 3 different bucket. I call it tax always, tax defer, and tax exempt, or tax advantage. No matter what investment that you do, it always fall into these 3 category. So if it's one thing you don't know, and it may cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in the long run.
One thing?
The taxes, just this piece.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The tax, absolutely.
Like if you put your money in a different bucket, I call it different bucket, right? In the long run, it may cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you put it in the wrong bucket.
Wow. So that's exactly why you need a mentor or a coach, somebody who's been there. I mean, that alone, I mean, no matter what you pay them, I know like my tax guy, I pay $900 a season, right? Most people go to some H&R Block and they pay 70. If they pay 150, they're upset. I pay 900 and I'm grateful. I can't tell you how much money that man saved me. You know what I mean? And just like you. So people who want to learn how to make money and then save on the money. So it's not just how much you make, it's how much you earn at the end of the day. Yeah, how much you keep. And in businesses, you get tax write-offs. People who are employees get taxed. People who own businesses get tax write-offs. Like my phone's a tax write-off. You know what I mean? This Surface, this StreamYard's a tax write-off, right? So but go ahead. So now we got 3. Now what's number 4?
This is, I would say, 99% of the people they neglect. And I would see 99% of the people, they don't have a strong foundation because it's one thing, health. I have seen people, they work hard, make money, and then they put it in their retirement. And because one thing, health, they didn't plan, right? It wipe out their whole entire years of investing. Yeah.
And not money-wise, but also their happiness. I mean, the quality of life sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yep. So think about that COVID, right? People get sick. When they get sick, they lose the ability to work. But the bill won't stop. What is your plan for that?
Yep. And so that's cool. So give us the 4 again. Just, the label, and I'm not interrupting.
The rate of return, the
Right.
risk, the taxes, the health. As long as you can apply this 4 principle into your current investment plan or financial plan, I would say you have very strong financial foundation that can weather any storm.
I love it. Now, Angeline, when you sent me your contact info, your bio and stuff, I don't think like your website and stuff is in there. You have a gift for people, so I'm going to put that down the bottom now. So people
Yes.
text, yeah, people can text AWA to 26786. But also, what I want to do is I want to put your website link inside the bio, because I'm going to be loading this up to YouTube and stuff, and some other ways. So, what's the best way that somebody can contact you right now? Because people need you. So, whether it's now or in 2 months, if somebody sees this on a rerun.
Yeah, we can do go to www.angeline360.com.
Okay, 360.com, not AngelineWehmeyer.com.
Angeline360.com.
Okay.
That way they can connect with all of my social media. They also can send me a message on WhatsApp, and also they can go to my website from there also.
Wow, great. It's a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Good for you. And I highly recommend, it's vitally important. I mean, right now, I have a client right now that we're doing a whole funnel system for him, and it's all on debt remediation, because people have so much debt, they didn't plan for it accordingly, and there's a way that they can file and not have to declare bankruptcy and have that reduced. But it's going to wipe out your credit score, but at least you're not filing bankruptcy. But just imagine and that's going to be a hot seller, because people didn't do what you suggested they do, and how much better off would their life be mentally and emotionally, and also the legacy that they leave to their children, if they just learned these principles and started. Even if you're 40 or 50, it's just a matter of getting started. And it's never too late for anybody, but give the gift of that information to your child, your grandchild, you know what I mean? And like, I know from my nieces on Christmas, I gave them Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I gave them a couple of books, you know what I mean? And instead of giving them toys and dolls, I told them, if you read the book, I'm going to ask you questions about the book, and I'll give you $20 if you actually read the book. And they loved it. And they read the book, and I asked them questions, so I know they read the book, and I gave them $20. So educate people, give them the gift of education. So no matter where you're in your life, I highly recommend that people contact you, Angeline, so they can learn from you to help themselves, but also contact you and learn what's available, and then give that information to their son, their daughter, their niece, their nephew, their grandchild, so they, going forward, won't have to go through some of the same things that we've gone through. So, sometimes the education is great for us, and it'll stop us, but giving that information to people we love is a huge gift, too.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's share information and help other people out, because I believe the world needs more connection, right?
Yep. And so anything in closing that you'd like to say to the audience? Take a couple of minutes, 2, 3, 4 minutes, whatever you want to say.
And I just want to say, I actually want to ask a question. I want to know, if you are listening, I want to ask you, when was the last time you really sit down and really map out your life and ask yourself, what do you really want to create for yourself, for your family, right? What does that look like? Do you know, if I sitting in front of you right now, I ask you, what do you want, right? Can you describe it to me? What is your ideal dream life going to be? Would you be able to tell me?
I could, but I'm sure I could.
Many people can.
Yeah, most people can.
People can.
Yeah, because they're worried. Well, I got to go to work tomorrow. I don't have time, to think about that. That's possible for somebody else, but not me. You know what I mean? So people, and I can't believe it all started with just reading that book, right? And so it really is. You never know where a piece of information or where that turning point is going to be. So I highly recommend that people just keep their mind open for information, and don't shut the door because you're so used to watching or listening or doing this particular thing. Keep your mind open that there might be a better way, or if you just try,
Yeah. Keep an open mind, right?
Yep.
And just open to receive. Even if you are watching this, listen to this, I believe it's the universe wants you to, right? They give you the gift of this message, and it's up to you. What do you want to do with it?
I love it. And the whole mindset about financial freedom and abundance. I mean, you talk about it, and I've heard others talk about it too. Having that abundance mentality and looking at money a little bit differently, not so much out of fear and constraint, like, knowing that there'll be more to come. It really does come down to mindset and information. So I highly recommend. You've been a great guest, and if you're free, maybe we could have you on in a month or so, and you could talk maybe specifically on one principle, whether it's for 20 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever, and then another time on one principle. I understand that it'll be informational, not instructional. So, I mean, you've learned a skill, you should be compensated for it. So people should definitely learn what they need to know, but then contact you to implement it, because no matter, you can learn something, but you'll never be as good as somebody who's already done it. And then that allows you to spend time with your family. That allows you to, make the money, and then you just, find somebody to take care of it for you, or at least tell you where to do with it. Am I right?
Yeah, just like if I want to help with the marketing, I wouldn't do it myself because that's not my expertise. I will find somebody like you. That's what you do, right? As an expert, and leverage. It's all about leveraging other people's knowledge, right?
Yeah. Staying in your lane. Learn it, do it, delegate it.
I love it. Learn it, do it, delegate it. Learn it, do it, delegate it.
Yep. Learn what you need to do. Learn it. Do it. Just understand it to a point where somebody's not going to take advantage of you, and then just delegate it, man. Give it to somebody else to do, and stick in your lane. Stay with what keeps you, what you're best at, and whatever you serve the world at the best level, and then just delegate the rest.
Beautiful.
Yep. And so you have a great day. Thank you so much. Any last thing you'd like to part with people?
Say it again.
Any last words?
I just I hope every one of you not just listen, but actually take some action. I'm the type of person you're gonna take action.
You got it. We don't want no more shelf help. You get all the information, you put it on a shelf, and you never use it. So you got to take action.
One thing, take one thing you're gonna add on.
Yep. I love it. You're such a good person, man. I'm so glad you could finally, it's been months, man. I'm so glad we could finally get you on the show.
Yep. It's my honor, Ronald. Appreciate you. And I hope your audience enjoy our message and enjoy everything.
谢谢。
谢谢。
See you later. Bye.
Bye.